behind me on the wall is one that you haven't seen before. It's my original design, and I call it My Favorite Things. It's made up of my favorite blocks and my favorite shapes. I taught it as a 6-month-long lecture demo class where the students came one Saturday a month taught it at a local store for 2 hours. And I gave them all the patterns, and they did all their sewing at home. They brought their fabrics, they brought their pattern books that they had put together, the big handout that had all of the everything to make the quilt. And each month we just went over one thing. I brought my sewing machine and I demoed all the stitching that was necessary and how to piece the various blocks that are there. They really enjoyed it quite a bit. And their quilts are magnificent, that what they did, and many of them made them larger than this. On my blog, you can easily find these kind of things. There's a search box in the upper left. It's got an orange bee on it, which stands for blogger. Blogspot is a blogger product. And in that search box, if you type My Favorite Things, it will take you to at least a couple of posts that I've made about this. But the one in particular that shows all the work the students did, it was the one I did at the end, based on the photos I took at the end of our 6 months together. Those quilts were amazing, and you might want to take a look at those and see. That's a great long-term project kind of a class. So, okay. This month, month 3, which starts very soon, and I have it on good authority that a little later today, this is Monday, February 27th, month 3 will be posted. I just have to check it first, and as soon as we're done here with the live, I'll jump on that and get that done. So as soon as that's been done, then I think you'll find that we're just going to leave it open, so you'll have it a couple days early. This month is very easy. We finish all the circles, and if you've looked at the forum, you've seen that more than a few people have finished them all already. In month 2, we were given all of the circle sizes and the placement layout for all of the circles, and people who wanted to go ahead and get the whole thing done were able to do that. The only thing that's new this month are the leaves. They're small little leaves, and they go in a variety of places around the hollyhock blocks. So I'm going to show you something very important about where to place those leaves. You don't have placement pictures. What the instructions say from the designer is to use photos of the quilt to decide where to place your leaves. And so that's, you can put them where you want, a little free form and that kind of thing. So I'm going to show you those in a minute. The other thing to mention about this month is that the video for this month, Sarah's video, is excellent on needle turn these small shapes. It's got that tiny little point. You'll see with the leaf in a minute when I show it to you. Do take advantage of watching the videos that she has put together. It's only one video this month. I think it's 7 minutes long. And then another resource that I strongly encourage people to continue to use is go back to the first show of January 1st, show 3201, where she walks you through a whole lot of the process. And it doesn't take that long. I just run it while I'm sewing here in my studio, and when something pops up that I want to see, oh yeah, I wanted to hear her say that again, I just go over to the screen and take a look at it. So those videos are really helpful, and it's just important for you to see. So let me switch here to the document camera so I can show you something. I am also, we're going to be fairly short today. I don't have a lot to say. I am going to show you, I'm working on month 7. So I'm going to actually show you, those of you who show up here today, I'm going to show you a little bit of that, because that's some exciting stuff. That's the big wide border where we start that with the long stems. So I'm going to show that. But if you have questions, now's the time to start typing them in the comments. I can't see them now. I'll have to go look for them. Anyway, so in fact, I forgot to set up looking for them, so I'll do that here in minute 2. All right, so let me go to the document camera. Here we go. All right, so the important thing for me to show you about month 3, and let's see if I can get this up here really good. Get this in here and do a nice little autofocus on this. Come on, autofocus. I want you to focus. All right, get you in there. Okay, there we go. All right, so the hollyhock blocks are these individual blocks. Remember, they were 10.5 inches, and they've got the stems and all the various circles. And then there are a few of these small leaves that go in different places around the block, and you are to use the photos of the quilt to decide where they go. So I put my leaves on in spaces where I thought they would go. There were blank space was over here, and so I put them on there. And then month 4 arrives, and we start working on the cone flower. And darn if I didn't have at least 4 leaves under where a coneflower petal was going to be, either here or over here on this side. So I had to take off the beautifully hand appliqued teeny tiny little leaf so that I could put the coneflowers where they go. And so on my blog, which will go up on March 1st, I show a picture of what I'm going to show you here in live with the video. Is what I'm going to give you the measurements of how much space, how far out does this cone flower stick out. Okay, because you've got an empty space here with these big hollyhock blocks, and you think, oh, I should put a leaf right in there. At least I did. So just going on a diagonal from the top of the cone flower out to the left petal, it sticks out a little more than 5 1/4. And you can see it's about 1 1/4 inches wide. So you can't be within that space to put a leaf and without having fear that you're going to have to move it. This doesn't matter, the straight up and down, because this is fine. You got plenty of space here, and there's no leaves right in here. There's the larger leaves are. And the same exact thing is the case over here on the right hand side, about 5 1/4. Let me see, is that right? 6 1/4, 6. Just this one's 6. I said it wrong. No, this one sticks out about 5 1/4, and this one over here is closer to almost 6, 5 3/4, something like that. Now, Sarah mentions in either in the video maybe that just wait on these leaves that go here on this side. You can place the other leaves, you see the ones that are here, in the middle area, because you've already got the circles down. Nothing else is going to go there. Same thing over here, down here. And some of you know why I have this on all 4 of my corners, where I have this very unusual placement of a leaf. The design does not have a leaf there, but Barbara needed a leaf there. And if you know why, then you know why. I wrote about it on my blog for month 2. So that it just tells you, I'm just advising you to wait for these leaves that go very close to the cone flowers. Just wait, because then you won't have to move them as I did. I know I moved 4 of them, and I might have moved more than that. The other thing important to mention, I know people have been chomping at the bit. Some people have written on the forum, oh, can I sew these together now? No. The instructions that we get for month 4 will tell you to join the middle, the center part, basically into 3 rows. You'll have a top row that's comprised of hollyhock block, this center that you're going to put the cone flower on, and the other right-hand side hollyhock block, that's top row. The middle row would be a stem piece that you've got done that a hollyhock's going to go on, the center of the cabin, and then the other stem piece over here where the other hollyhock. And then the bottom would be the same as the top, 2 hollyhock blocks and a stem in the middle. By keeping them in 3 separate rows, you are able to handle just the top row when you're doing the cone flowers and just the bottom row to do the cone flowers, instead of having the entire center in your hand while you're doing all of this hand applique. Once the entire top row and entire bottom row are sewn and all of these cone flowers are in place, then the next thing you'll do is you can put those leaves, the remaining little leaves that you saved because you didn't want to do what I did. You waited and got those done. So that would be helpful. And then we do have to put the middle row on to the top and the bottom in order for you to finish the left and right sides cone flowers. Because remember that the cone flowers will go out into, this is the top row up here, and this is the middle row. So we will have to have the entire quilt in our lap when you're doing the last 2 cone flowers, but you don't need it for all 4. So it's just beneficial not to do that. So don't be in a hurry to put your center all together. It all in due time. It'll get there. So let me see what else I wanted to talk to about that. Okay, talked about that. Good. All right, I'm going to now show you a little bit of month 7, and then I'll be able to look for pictures. Okay, month 7, we get started on the wide border, which has the birds. And this, as if you've seen the show again, or I watched it again just the other day, and Sarah mentions again that this border, as there's so much involved in it between the stems, the flowers, the leaves, the petals, and the birds, that she actually has us make this entire border over 3 months. We will work on this border in months 7, 8, and 9. I told you last time on the live we talked about stems, and people were anxious to make the stems, and the instructions said that you'd need about 8 yards of bias. And I started cutting this is that pretty matcha fabric that we got with our kit. We got those extra 2 half-yard pieces, and this is the lighter one of those. So I started cutting that on the bias, and I cut them into 3/4-inch strips, and I didn't cut all of it up. I might have cut up probably less than half of the yardage, and I had plenty of stems. So don't make all of this stuff into stems. That's the bad part about trying to get ahead. If you jump ahead and start making all this stuff, you may find yourself the possessor of many more yards of 1/4-inch bias that you don't need for the quilt. So I will tell you now, and this is one of those special informations that I only provide here on the live, that for month 7, the amount of 1/4-inch bias that you're going to need are 8 pieces that are about 26 inches long. That's this one and this one. And of course, there's 4 borders, so you have 2 on each border. That's 8 at 26. And then you'll need another 28 pieces that are about 3 inches long. That's for all these little filler pieces. And that's all you're going to need. So if you've gotten started making 1/4-inch bias because you wanted to jump ahead, once you have that much on hand, just stop. If you needed more, you could always add more. So the next thing I'm going to show you, just because I thought this was pretty nifty, then I came up with this until it caused me to have a bit of a disaster, is that to make these are called tabs, and to make these little tabs, I thought, what would be the easiest way for me to make them is to cut freezer paper patterns. So I just did that. There's 24 of these. I made my little freezer paper patterns, and I cut them out, and I used prepared edge is what this is called. Prepared edge needle, not needle turn, it's prepared edge. And I just used a little bit of a glue stick and turned the edges under to make the tabs. And then I put the tabs here, and I could applique either by hand or machine. I did these by hand, and I could get those done. And the nice thing is that these are open here at the bottom. They are open until you put the big circle on top. So I was just able to use tweezers. Well, here's what I thought. Because I had glued this with glue, I spritzed it all real heavily with water, so the glue would give up. I've done this many times with lots of our projects. And the first thing that happened is that this wonderful blue washout Crayola marker started to run all over everything. And I knew it was going to come out, but as it pooled, because I had so much water right here in the center, I had this, mush of this light blue everywhere. So that was a bit of a problem. I've washed it this morning by hand in the sink, and it's all come out. It's not a problem. So I thought, well, how am I going to get the rest of these done? I've marked every one of these borders with this blue marker that I really like because I can see it. But then I said, well, okay, what if I take a Q-tip? And the reason I'm talking and showing this to you now is I won't have this to show you in month 7 because these will all be done. So just because I'm doing them right now, I'm just kind of teasing you with what's to come. So this morning, as I was prepping for this, I thought, okay, well, here's my idea, is I'll take a Q-tip with this water, and I'll just kind of wet it inside there to try to get that glue up, and then use my tweezers to pull it out. So I wanted to see if I could show you on camera getting the tweezers in there. And of course, because I want to do it. And let me see if I can grab this one. Yeah, these flathead tweezers from Applique are really great. Okay, so I've got my tweezers secure on this freezer paper, And look at that. Man, you could have heard me shout a few minutes ago when I discovered that. I pulled the whole thing out. It's not torn, it's not ripped, and there's no water on here. So that was pretty cool. So the first thing, obviously, that you do is you got to put your stems in place, and there's placement diagrams and all of that kind of stuff. So I got all the stems on all of mine. I do machine applique them all. The smartest thing to do first is put down all of these little short ones that are going to go under. There are two short pieces on each left and right side, and then they're covered with the long piece. Remember, that's that 26-inch piece. And then these little short ones in here as well. So you do all that, whether you do it by hand or by machine applique. If you're going to do it by hand and stack all of it up the way Sarah does, and Irene Blank's class is going on right now, it's a great class to see her method. It's very similar to a lot of these. And so she preps everything and glues all the little pieces in place and carries it with her for hand applique. But anyway, I machined applique, so I was just able to quickly machine this. I think I spent an hour on all four borders, little dots of glue to hold it in place, and just ran it through my machine and got it all done. So the centers, once the tabs are down, then we get to put these adorable little, Sarah often refers to these as half-inch circles. They're actually 5/8 of an inch. But anyway, those go on top. Her instructions, I've used this because this is the fabric in the kit that it said to use. If I had it to do again, I would pick a brighter color in there. And these are so small, they take so little amount of fabric that you have plenty of fabric that you can choose something else if you want. I wish I had used almost a fuchsia kind of a color on there. That would be a little bit darker. But anyway, I use the colors that it said, and so that's what I'm doing. So the little circles get put down on top of the tabs. I made these little petals. These little petals were not quite as hard as I had anticipated. And the same thing here. This little circle, Sarah actually, I think, forgot to tell you which fabric to use for these little circles in the center. There's only 4 of them. And again, they're 5/8 of an inch finish. They're tiny. You can choose any one that you want at all. So I just picked a different color than this lavender one. But again, what I would have used if I wasn't following the kit completely is a yellow. I think a really pretty yellow in there would look great. But so I made the petals, and then I sewed the petals first onto a piece of the background fabric, because that's what goes back here. But I left it as a square so I could sew it on and hold it in my hand as a square instead of as a circle. Once I got them all sewn on, I traced around the circle, used the Karen K. Buckley's Perfect circles and made my circles the right size. Then I took that little guy, the little gray guy there, that circle, and I appliqued it onto a square. And I've got photographs of all this stuff. But I didn't cut the big circle out until after my little gray guy was appliqued on top. And then I cut away the back, so I had one less layer of bulk on the back. And then I did the gathering stitch like you could see here, and it's ready to go. So I'll have photographs of that, but it would be nice to be able to see it. And I'm sure we'll have videos from Sarah that month, and she'll have her instructions on that too. So I'm liking how this is coming. So for month 7, we do all the stems, and we do this little bit of this kind of thing, and the petals and the tabs and the circles and all of that. And then next month we move on to some of the other flowers, and finally we'll get to the birds in month 9. So, all right, let me take a look here. I'm going to leave this out. I'm going to put something up so you can see this while I go get the question section up so I can see that. So bear with me for a minute while I do that. Okay, almost there. Okay. don't see any chat. Okay, I don't see anything. So let's come back to there. Okay, and go back to my laptop webcam. All right, so that should take care of us for today. Finally got it down to a shorter period of time. And the next live will be on Friday, March the 31st, when we start on the tackling the cone flowers. So we'll have reminders about that. That'll be back on Friday, but it's going to be the very end of March again, so I can get ahead for some of the folks that are ready. So I'm glad to have this part ready. The middle is almost done. Month 3 gets us pretty far along. And until next time, that's a wrap.